Hello, this is Coastal News, an unofficial home and away podcast where we dissect the latest week's episodes and discuss the happenings and residents of our favourite fictional town, Summer Bay. Well, this week, Flick the Tornado, as I'm now going to call her, continues to cause trouble and destruction wherever she goes in the bay. Now situated at the caravan park, as we saw last week, her and Cash have got into a bit of bother with their rented accommodation and the neighbour, and they were evicted. So here they are, they're at the caravan park now, and they're now causing trouble for poor old Rue. Cash gets summoned while he's on a date with Jasmine, doesn't he? Another date that gets cut short, and I bet Jasmine, poor thing, feels like it'll never blooming happen. But he gets summoned, takes her with him to the caravan park, where we see this really weird two blokes having a full-on scrap. I mean, what was that all about? I don't think did we get an explanation? I don't think we really know, do we? What was going on with that? The fight gets broken up and Flick does her "I'm so out of control" routine, and I don't care, I'm a badass, and then those guys go. Jasmine and her then sort of have this friendly encounter where they have a chat, and Flick sort of opens up to her and says, she tells that lie about her father being murdered, doesn't she? And you can see in Jasmine's reaction to that, she feels completely empathetic towards her at this point, or sympathetic, should I say, because she's had a really tough time, and that, and you can see the cogs in Jasmine's mind turning. Oh, okay, that's why you're like you are, I sort of felt the same until fast forward a couple of scenes, and Cash is saying, "Let me guess." She said he was murdered. It's not true. And then we learn the real truth from Cash, and then you start to think, okay, Flick is really, really troubled here from her father's suicide. They've both had a really tough upbringing in the system, and yeah, I can now see why she's the tearaway that she is. We've seen this before on the show, right? The Bay's used to this kind of thing, tearaways arriving. So this is nothing particularly new. It's just that Flick has a certain finesse about her, doesn't she? She's doing it with conviction. And a lot of that does actually involve Tane and her continued flirtatious one-night stands with Tane. He's using her, she knows it, right? And she's using him just to sort of act out and just be that character that she's painted out to be. So I think they're both using each other, and it's not gonna. That's never a good place to go, is it? And we saw a bit later in the week that Flick realizes there's this Ziggy. She learns from Ziggy, about this Ziggy and the situation, and she still goes for it. The pair of them are asking for trouble. They really are. Logan and Mac also continue to do their back and forth, don't they, this week, this flirtatious thing. Now, I'm finding this a lot better than the Tane and, I've forgotten him then, Flick, Tane and Felicity. It's a lot better than them two, because there's actually a chance Logan and Mac actually like each other, and they're not using each other, and they've not gone there with the whole, one-night stand, giving to temptation yet. But Logan really wants her, doesn't he? And I think he is hilarious. Let me know what you think, guys, on the social media at Coastal News Pod, because I think he's so funny. I think he's a big breath of fresh air. I really do. And sometimes, Max had a really tough year, right, with everything she's gone through. I can understand why she's not ready to go and jump in deep and get all lost in him. We don't know if he's sticking around at this point. I can understand her caution, I really can. But she could do a lot worse, couldn't she? You know what I mean? But yeah, they've got such good chemistry, and I think obviously this storyline's designed for them not to get together immediately so that we want them to get together, right? And I'm falling right into that trap. So can't wait for that to develop more. His personality is hilarious. I'm really loving his to and fro in with Tori, and that moment when he said, and he's sort of, when she's checking his obs and she's holding his hand, she's like, "Oh my, Tori, your fiance is right there." Christian knows, doesn't he, exactly what he's like, and that's really great. It's really funny. He goes back to Tori and Christian's house, and he's just sort of all his little one-liners. I hope they don't slide. I hope if he does sticking around, I hope he continues to be like that, because he's really quite funny, and going scenes with those, dropping into all the drama of the other guys, really lightens the episode and gives a lot of a good light balance, I feel. He's a character we've needed for a long time, and I hope he continues to be like that and doesn't sort of lose that as he settles into life in the Bane. And inevitably life gets a bit tough at that point, doesn't it? But yeah, love him, love Mac. Please, I just want to see them pash and get it on. Here for it. What do you all think? And then Nick and Bella fallout rumbles on again for another week. She's selling her camera equipment, isn't she? And he's secretly buying it by that weird surfer hobo looking dude. Where did he find him? Like, does he know him? Like, willing to overlook for artistic license and all that. She's none the wiser at that point, and everyone's saying to her, "Why have you sold your equipment?" Can everyone just stop asking her that? It's quite obvious she's trying to draw a line under it. She could buy another camera at some point if she changes her mind. What's the big deal, right? This is her way of coping with the breakup and the fact that there's no going back, right? Despite the whole breakup being her, I don't know, the whole thing's reversed on its head, hasn't it, really? I was talking about that on last week's podcast. Do check that out on the previous episode. How the Nick and Bella breakup situation has flipped and reversed. But yeah, he's now got possession of the camera, and she does find out later in the week that the money has come from him. She goes to him and says, "Keep the camera and keep the money. I don't want anything to do with you." And Nick refuses, and Bella sort of does the whole screamy, shouty belly thing that she does. So, do you know, I do feel a bit for Nick here now. I've not been his best advocate with the whole cheating thing, but he's done that not because he's trying to do a nice thing. I mean, okay, he's guilty. He's trying to make it up for in the long run, isn't he? But he knows it's in Bella's best interest that eventually, no matter how long it takes, she's ready to pick her camera up again. He's got it, and I thought that was actually a really nice thing to do, even if it did come from a place of feeling guilty and wanting to make things up to her. And I just think, if I was Bella and I found that out, I'd be like, "You're welcome to the camera. I've got the money. I'm going on a nice holiday. Do you know what I mean? See you later. I'm going to Bali or something." So I think she's reacted a little. Well, she's reacted very Bella, hasn't she? But did it really need that reaction? I'm not too sure it did. So this has then resulted in Nick and Tane just saying, "I need to get out of here. I need to get out of town." And they've skipped town, gone in the car, and they're getting away for a while. And do you know, I think that's the best thing for them, actually. They've got both their storylines, both their drama and their things in their life are just going round in this ever-revolving circle. So as a viewer, yeah, get them out of the way. Let's reset the story, come back different, and I suppose that's a plot device, right? Just to get the story to speed on a bit. So I completely agree. Tanya needs to get out away from Ziggy, away from the mess he's making with Felicity that he's getting in too deep about, and Nick needs to be away from Bella for a while. And I think it'll do Bella the world of good as well. So I think that's a very, very good decision, if a little hasty. But those two, they're in the car now and they're off, and we'll find out next week what goes on with that. Meanwhile, while they are off and out, Ari and Mia agree to focus on themselves. They've got into this routine straight. They've just lost a baby, right? Another baby. So they've got a lot going on themselves, and they're just worrying about them two all the time. So it was nice for them. Now those are out the way, we'll get back to their story and this adoption proposition that Mia's got for Ari, and obviously we see them this lovely walk on the beach where they agree to do it. So will Mia and Ari get their happy ever after? We're now probably going to go through a big story with those about jumping through the many hoops you have to jump through to adopt with dogs and all the rest of it. So it'd be really nice if they could adopt. That's the fostering and adoption and, families that are different. That's the whole old time premise of Home and Away. And we love a bit of that, and we're really happy to see where that goes. I've never been Mia's biggest fan. Regular listeners know this, but, it doesn't mean I don't want to see her and Ari happy. Their mourning of the loss of baby Sophia's not really been dragged out too much, and it's nice that they've got something positive to channel their energy into rather than us just seeing them fall apart. It's actually refreshing to see a couple stick together after something so tragic happening. That's everything covered this week. Do continue to engage and chat. I love it. On Twitter and Instagram at Coastal News Pod. We'll be back next week with another review of the week's episodes ahead. Do check in, like, share and subscribe, whatever you need to do to keep notified of future episodes of the Coastal News Podcast. I will see you very soon. Thanks for listening. Bye bye now.